Granbury, varying between nickel and dime size on the sides of the road. And right now, again, we're heading west on 20. So we're heading back into the stronger part of that storm towards Barkhamsted, where right now on radar indicating some pretty significant hail. But right now we're just dealing with rain. And, you know, guys, that kind of eerie smell after a storm when everything kind of smells fresh. There is debris littered over Route 20 here, leaves, tree branches. You can tell that that first cell went right through, and there's another one right behind it. So that's what we're keeping an eye on here. And again, right now we are heading west on Route 20 back towards Barkhamsted into the Windsor area right now, where we are getting that indication of another hail core, frequent cloud to ground lightning, and that is exactly what we're seeing here as we are on the road as well. So we're going to continue to keep you updated on what we see as we get a little bit closer to the center of that storm. But for now, we want to send things back to you.
All right, Caitlin McGrath live in Granby, heading out toward Barkhamsted right now. Thank you very much for that report. And again, I cannot remember the last time we had reports in Granby where we have actually seen cars with their windows smashed. You need generally bigger than golf ball to about tennis ball sized hail to get that done. That is some legit hail that moved through about 25 minutes ago in Granby. And we saw that thing happen. I mean, that core just shot up when the storm was over Hartland, and we got worried real fast. And so that's what we've been going in. Josh, just got a report, Beacon, New York, down here in Putnam County. Yep. New York State mesonet site gusted to 78 miles an hour. Wow. So that is some powerful, powerful wind with these storms, just to give you an idea of what these storms can do as they move in. So even though the tornado threat, at least right now, has diminished, we still are talking about the potential for some very, very large hail and very strong winds as these storms move in. And that's why we are talking about the potential for some really nasty storms. And Josh, check out, I want you to look at, if you can, sure, the storm in New Preston. Yep. Right up here, I see a little bit of a couplet developing. Well, let me just zoom back out.
Pull that up here.
So let's take a look here in New Preston by Lake Warmog. I was just looking off screen here, and I'm going to switch this over to velocity mode, and we can see what we've got. And, well, I don't see a whole lot here. It might be better on our northwestern radar. But right somewhere, yeah, nothing too concerning right now. But there is certainly a very large damaging wind threat here right along this line. And embedded in this line, you can get these little quick spin-up tornadoes to happen. So Litchfield County, I want you to be in a safe spot. We're talking about the potential here as these storms move in, hurricane-force wind gusts as these storms move on through.
And Josh, Ryan, I just want to note, if you have any plans to head to Bradley International Airport, flights obviously suspended at this point, and the air traffic control tower operators have evacuated the tower at this time. You don't see that very often.
You sure don't, but certainly that is a wise move based on what we're seeing right now. So again, this line of thunderstorms moving through portions of northwestern Connecticut. We've got all sorts of issues here with this line of thunderstorms. You've got the potential for hail and also the potential for strong damaging winds. So if you are in this line of thunderstorms here, and let's track this for you too. If we can take this full here, just a little easier for me to see. We've got this line of thunderstorms that stretches from about Granby down over toward New Milford, and these storms are very powerful. So even though we have no tornado warnings in the state right now, you should be prepared for very, very strong winds as these storms move on through. And the storms, again, let me just clear this off. Let me try this one more time. Again, as these storms move on through, we're talking about winds that may reach 70 miles per hour or so as the storms move to the east and sort of drift to the southeast as well. So to track out the storms, here is the ETA for these storms. Burlington, we're talking about 436 as these storms move in. So just about in the northern part of Burlington here. Simsbury, the northern part of Simsbury, there you go, 436 as well, about 2 minutes away from Simsbury Center. Up 202 into Granby, you've got the winds and the damaging hail potentially moving back into your town. Avon at 440, Bloomfield 444. Bristol at 447, West Hartford 449. So this is even going to make it down to Hartford and West Hartford. You've got a little bit of time, but not much. Prepare for some strong damaging winds. Hartford at 453, Waterbury at 458, Manchester at 501, Southington 502, Berlin at 506. And then heading out into Tolland County, we've got Coventry, Merrow 509, 514, and Meriden at 515 from this line of thunderstorms moving in from the north and west. So let's put this into motion. There's there's the storms. The tornado threat, at least temporarily, has diminished, but we are talking about very strong winds as these storms move through. Just saw another wind gust at 53 miles per hour in Poughkeepsie, New York, and we've got that report from Beacon, New York, just here off to the west of Danbury. Wind gusts reported to 78 miles per hour as these storms have moved in from the Mesonet site. So let's take a look at what's going on in, I believe, Barkhamsted now. Caitlin McGrath is standing by with more. Caitlin, what are you looking at?
Hey there, Ryan. Radar here. I'm going to tell you exactly where we are. See if we can get close enough so we can show you right now. It is ripping rain. We have frequent cloud-to-ground lightning and extremely heavy winds. So right now we are in Ender State Forest, right on 219. We're crossing Case Street right now, heading towards the center of Barkhamsted. And, you know, this is exactly what Ryan has been showing you, right where we're seeing that really high reflectivity, that really strong cloud-to-ground lightning and strong winds. We are...
Oh, well, okay, Caitlin, we just lost your shot there. This is what happens when you're driving through an area that got just clobbered by a storm. You've got some big problems like that. And so you can see here, this line of thunderstorms moving back into where Caitlin was from Barkhamsted and down to the south and west. Severe thunderstorm warnings in effect, mainly now for strong damaging winds. Hail, we could see hail to the size of dimes or quarters, but I think the hail threat's beginning to diminish as the worst of these storms start coming in. So you can see there's that line of thunderstorms moving through northern Talon County, back through northwest Hartford County and Litchfield County. That's producing some damaging wind, and these storms are going to move down to the south and to the east. And we're getting some great pictures. And Josh, I don't know if we've got some great viewer photos that are coming in. And Josh, can we go over?
Yeah, we can jump over here and kind of show some of these. So, hey, we're getting some great viewer photos in. If we can maybe come over to the tag board set right here, I can show you some of these. And you can see this photo sent in by Matthew Wilson, reporting 1.5-inch hail in New Hartland. New Hartford, you can see the skies very, very ominous in the New Hartford area. We also have some photos from Thompson. Now, the storms haven't moved through in Thompson yet, but this is what you're seeing with the cloud cover. These are what we call mammatus clouds. You only see this when there's severe thunderstorms in the area, or big thunderstorms in the area. We have reports of hail up in Norfolk. Obviously, that's pretty small. Some of the bigger hail that we've seen is ping pong to even egg-sized hail in parts of the state. And we also have this photo in. This is looking to the north towards Winstead from the Burville section of Torrington. This was shot around 3:45 this afternoon. And one final image to leave you with, and Ryan, this was tweeted at you. Matthew Reed sending us this photo from Vernon and Rockville, and you can see the lightning coming down, some prolific lightning with these storms. But of course, the main concern right now is the hail and the potential for another tornado with that storm that's moving in from New York into Connecticut. Ryan, back to you.
Yeah, certainly, Josh, and thanks for that. And we're getting some great pictures. In fact, I know we have another video that has just come in of some hail damage from East Hartland. So that was that hail swath that moved from East Hartland into Granby from this storm earlier. Picture. That is one big chunk of hail. It looks like that. It looks like the base of an umbrella, and that's what that kind of hail will do. Once you get above golf ball size, it's going to start doing some damage, and so you're going to see a lot of insurance claims in northern Connecticut, in Hartland and Granby, from this hail. That hail looks like maybe the size of about an egg. That is some pretty legit hail from earlier. So again, the severe weather threat is beginning to transition from hail over to damaging winds. As we'll go back to live first alert Doppler radar and take a look at this line of thunderstorms moving in. And what I'm going to do is change this over to our velocity mode and take a look at some of the wind speeds here. And we are just seeing some incredible winds being sampled just west of Danbury. If you're in Danbury right now, you need to prepare for a storm that's coming in that might as well be a tornado. That's how powerful these winds are coming down into Danbury, parts of Brookfield, New Fairfield, and Sherman. This is some very, very powerful wind that we've got coming down from New York State. So now that we have sort of gone from what we had before, which was more of an isolated storm, so we had a couple storms that were really nasty. Now we're talking about this line of thunderstorms, and the whole thing is nasty, stretching from New York State back into northwestern Connecticut. I'm going to put a storm track on this again for you so we can time these coming out into your town. So I'm going to start with this storm out toward Brewster, New York, and then sort of snake it back to the northwest out toward the Farmington Valley. And this is what we're talking about for storm arrival time. Canton, right about now, you're getting into the worst of it. Burlington in a couple minutes. New Fairfield, 4:43. New Milford, 4:45. Bethlehem 446, Bloomfield about 450, about 10 of 5 in Plymouth and Terryville, 10 of 5 in Windsor, Blue Hills at 453, Bristol 456, Hartford about 5 o'clock. Same story in Southbury. The threat from these storms as they move in would be strong, damaging winds strong enough to take down trees, winds strong enough to take down power lines as they move on through it. I know we have a number of power outage reports. Josh had the Eversource outage map up just a bit ago, and there is certainly a smattering of power outages being reported up through portions of
just over 11,000
County, and 11,000, and that's a lot.
76% of Winchester right now.
76% of Winchester, and that is a lot of people to be without power up in northwestern Connecticut. Tara Joyce is live in East Granby with more, with the powers out there as well. Tara, what do you see?
Yeah, no power here. We were just sitting in a bunch of traffic because the street light was out, so everybody's definitely taking slow. There was a good collection of cars as the rain kind of began to pick up once again, and it is back to, I would say, pouring in this area. We kind of went through a lull for a few minutes, but coming down in buckets once again. And the lightning, while it is not as consistent as the last time I checked in with you guys, it is still out here. We had some pretty good cracks of thunder as well. And it's just a lot of this coming down all at once. And yeah, this whole area, let's see, this traffic light is out as well. The gas station over here is still on, but it looks like some of the businesses nearby are without.
Hey, Tara,
without
are you still in? Are you on Route 20 still in East Granby? Is that where you are, just near the airport?
We just made a left off of Bank Street. We are coming up on. Let me take a look at the sign right here. This is just Hartford Ave, Ryan.
Okay, great. Okay, so Tara, you're going to start. I would say you're about maybe 5 minutes away from getting clobbered again by a second storm that's just off to the west of you.
Good.
Yeah, I know, just what you wanted to hear, right? So you're going to get hit by this storm as it comes back in from the west. So already you've got people who had damage and who had trees come down and the power's out. And now we've got another storm coming in. You can see just pitch dark there, Tara, on your shot in East Granby. Thank you very much. Let us know if you hear anything. We'll be here waiting for you.
Ryan, point us in the direction right now. Which way do you want us heading?
Let me take a look here. If you are in, I would head back toward 91. Well, you know what? Honestly, I would sort of head down, maybe if you headed down Route 75 over into Windsor, maybe like Pequannock in Windsor, headed down south. That might be a good spot.
We'll do. We'll let you know what we see there, Ryan.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks a lot. Tara Joyce live in East Granby. This caught our attention. You may have heard Josh talking to me during Tara's report, and I am seeing a very nasty, damaging wind signature moving into the northern part of Danbury and over toward Brookfield right now and New Fairfield. And this is moving to the east. This is going to be in portions of New Haven County shortly. So this is a wind signature. And let me actually just get a reading here with what we're looking at in terms of how strong these winds are. This is 80 knots. Yeah, I mean, I got 94 miles an hour of inbound winds. So this storm. Yeah, this storm. I need you if you are in
16 mile per hour inbound winds.
Yeah, if you are in northern New Fairfield County, you need to take your, oh, there we go, tornado. I was just going to say, the Weather Service read my mind. New tornado warning, folks, here now for northern Fairfield County and northern New Haven County for this storm. That signature is ugly.
Very ugly.
You need to be, if you are in New Fairfield or Sherman or Brookfield or Bridgewater or into Southbury, I need you to be in a safe spot right now from this storm. In addition to a possible tornado, we're talking about winds here that are hellacious down in New Fairfield. I cannot remember seeing a signature like that.
Not in Connecticut.
Not in Connecticut, that is for sure. That is about as strong as you'll see. And Josh, look at those. What do we got
116
here?
miles per hour. You don't see that.
Wow.
Very often.
All right, if you're in New Fairfield, if you're in Brookfield, if you're in New Milford, if you're in Bridgewater, you need to be in a safe spot. New Fairfield, Danbury, Brookfield, the northern part of, let's go with all of Bethel, Newtown, Sandy Hook, Southbury, Bridgewater, Roxbury, Woodbury. Be in a safe spot. This storm looks more impressive than any of the storms we've seen so far today. This produced a 78-mile-per-hour wind gust off to the northwest in portions of New York, and this could be producing a tornado at any moment here as this storm moves on through. And this is just...
And Ryan, let's
incredible.
Let's map this out and let you know where it's headed, because you know it is heading off to the east-northeast, I would say. There is a little bit of a northerly trajectory
let me put
with this
just
system.
trying to get another.
If we can come over to the weather center.
The winds are so strong. I can do it here right now,
Perfect.
Josh, for you.
Perfect.
The winds are so strong, it's actually giving our radar program.
I jumped over to Albany because of that.
a bit of a problem here. So there you go. Moving to the east, you've got your possible tornado and very powerful winds. I think we're going to see a lot of damage from this storm. This is a pretty classic-looking signature. Heritage Village in Southbury, 458. Brookfield right about now. Southford, 503. Oxford, 506. Northern Fairfield County, northern New Haven County, we've got that tornado warning in effect. A very, very powerful looking signature here that's moving into portions of northern Fairfield County, just to the north of Danbury. So the northern part of Newtown right now, right along the Housatonic River, we're talking about winds that could be approaching 100 miles an hour. That is some very, very powerful winds. And when you get winds this strong, you also have a rotational signature here as well that you've got to be concerned about. So this is now what? 1, 2, 3. This is our 4th tornado warning of the day. There is your rotational signature. I think the damaging wind threat might be a little larger than the tornado threat. But if it's 100 miles an hour from straight line winds or 100 miles an hour from a tornado, it doesn't matter. Those are trees that are falling on your house. That's how strong these winds are in Brookfield. And so now Bridgewater, the southern part of Bridgewater, and also now into portions of, so we've got Bridgewater and the northern portions of Newtown, and then heading out here towards Southbury. So this is north of 84, right along the Housatonic River. That's where we've got some really, really nasty conditions, and this will be heading to the east. This is a very, very significant, very serious damaging wind signature, and the potential is here. When you have a signature like that, there is the potential for some high-end damage and even a tornado. So you could see in a swath that's maybe a mile or two wide of substantial damage with trees down, and we're talking about winds that may be strong enough to take a roof off a house. That's how strong these winds are, and we don't say that. I've been standing at this green screen for 13 years here on NBC Connecticut, and I've never said the wind is strong enough to take the roof off a house. This one could do it in Brookfield right now, and this is heading out toward Bridgewater and Southbury. So again, if you're in Southbury right now, you need to be in a safe spot. You need to be in a basement or a small interior room. I need you to stay away from windows. Don't go outside. If you've got plans in the next 5-10 minutes from Waterbury on west, postpone them, cancel them. Do not venture outside. Yeah, what do you got, Josh?
We're getting some photos in of some major straight line wind damage out in New Fairfield. So
in New Fairfield,
I'm
okay.
going to turn this around and show you guys here in a second, but we are getting confirmation that there is some very, very, very strong winds with
Okay, so this is a situation that these are the kinds of storms that you need to be very concerned about. And I'm going to put another storm track on so we can track these as they move out. So we've got, and let's make sure we've got a crew heading out that way towards Southbury. If we can just, Brooke, if we can make sure we're doing that. So this is a signature that has us worried for a possible tornado.
And Ryan, I have that photo and tag board if you want to pull that full.
Yeah, can we throw up a tag board full? We don't need. Yeah, I see that the straight line wind damage there in New Fairfield, and you can see I just snapped a couple feet up from the base there, for sure.
And that right there, that's a classic signature that we're dealing with. We're seeing it on radar, but we're also seeing the ground truth here. And this was just sent in approximately 2 minutes ago.
And we got a new tornado warning now for southern Litchfield County for this storm. So that same storm in Brookfield that's moving into Southbury.
And Ryan, this is still producing on radar at approximately 4,000 feet. Winds over 75 miles per hour to even 100 miles per hour. Now, is all of that mixing down to the surface? Well, some of these photos are kind of confirming that that's happening. And we're also seeing some reports, major damage in New Fairfield. This is from a tweet, Andrew Mara. Power out, transformers have blown there. So a lot of confirmation coming in that this system is the real deal.
Yeah, you need to be in a safe spot right now. If you're in Southbury, this is not a joke. This is a very serious situation. Bridgewater over toward Woodbury, down into Southbury, the northern part of Newtown, you should be preparing for a tornado. Whether or not it's a tornado or straight line winds of 100 miles per hour, it doesn't make a difference. If the winds are 100 miles per hour, if they're spinning around or if they're just blowing straight at you, it still does the same amount of damage. Southbury 458, Woodbury 459, Southford 501, Middlebury 503, Waterbury 507. Prospect 512, Naugatuck Valley, Waterbury, down toward Oxford. This whole area under the tornado warning needs to be in a safe spot right now from these storms as they move in, because we're talking about the potential for some very, very serious wind. And yeah, this is just about to cross in now over the Housatonic River. So we're just north. And actually, guys, I know we have some traffic cameras in Newtown. Let's keep an eye on those on 84, because it looks like, yep, that's Danbury. So Danbury is getting the rain right now, but that damaging wind threat is going to be to the east out toward Newtown. So let's just keep an eye on those. Let's go back to live first alert Doppler radar. Newtown, there's 84. Southbury as well. We're talking about winds here, and I'm going to get a sample of these winds for you so you know just how strong these winds are. Right on Route 7 in Brookfield, about 100 miles an hour still, 102. Those are the kinds of winds that you see in the highest end of these storm systems. I think you may have to go back into the mid-90s to find a storm that has done something like this in terms of a wind signature on Doppler radar. This is a very serious situation. You need to be indoors, away from windows. I would be in a basement if I was in Southbury right now. This is a very, very destructive storm moving through Brookfield right now. Route 25, Route 7, Route 133. There's the latest sweep. This is the Housatonic River. This is the border between Fairfield and New Haven counties. There could be a tornado here as these strong winds move down into the valley. Sometimes that can be enough to get enough rotation to spin things around. But again, we're talking about winds that are strong enough to take the roof off your house, snap the trees in your backyard, send the big pine tree in the backyard onto your house. These are very serious winds. This is a very serious situation. This is, again, a tornado warning that we have now in effect for northern Fairfield, southern Litchfield, and northern New Haven counties. Let's zoom back out. Well, let's put a storm track on this. We're going to track this damaging wind. It's very clear, very evident where we have the strongest winds now. We'll take a look up to the north in just a second, but this is, the storms to the north, as long as you're inside, you'll be okay with those storms. The storms to the south, these are life-threatening storms we have moving through portions of northern Fairfield and northern New Haven counties right now. Again, the potential is there for a tornado, also the potential for very powerful winds, and this is what Doppler radar allows us to do. Doppler radar allows us to look at the winds within a storm. So live first alert Doppler is great because it's showing us this damaging wind signature. So this is the most powerful radar that covers Connecticut, and it is showing us clear as day. We watched this in New York. We gave you a first alert as it crossed the border, and now we're talking about significant damage potential as the storm moves into the valley. Heritage Village, 456. Southbury, I can't emphasize this enough. You need to be in a safe spot. Southford, 5 o'clock. Oxford, 5:03. Beacon Falls, 5:06. Naugatuck, 5:07. Prospect 512. That's where this storm will be moving. We've got a new update. This is live radar. There's no delay on this radar. This is live. As soon as we get information, the radar is spinning around, and you've got Josh, I've got more rotation here.
Yep, absolutely.
You've got to be
picking up a little bit.
Concerned now for some tornado potential
especially
here.
right up towards Southbury, coming into that area.
Coming into Southbury. So
that's where it looks like it's the tightest rotation.
It sure is, and that is a very serious signature right along the Housatonic River right now. Southbury being a safe spot. Route 172, 84 in Southbury. Let's get that camera ready for the storm as they move on through. Tornado safety tips for you. If you're in Southbury right now, I need you to do the following. You need to be in a basement, small interior rooms, stay away from windows, don't go outside. You won't see this tornado. It's wrapped in rain. If there is a tornado on the ground, this is something you need to just take my word for it. These are radar signatures we don't see very often. These are the kind of radar signatures I see at night between the 6 and 11 o'clock news when I pull up the radar in Dodge City, Kansas to look at these storms. We don't see this in Connecticut very often, and that's how serious this situation is with these storms that are moving into Southbury. So severe thunderstorm warning for the rest of the state. Basically all of Connecticut under a warning right now. Storms moving into the Hartford area, but this is the storm that has me the most concerned, where you see this little notch right here. We call this an inflow notch. That's where you have the potential, and it's right over Southbury right now. Southbury Center under that notch. Let me go back. I didn't mean to do that. Let's see. Let's zoom in one more time to Southbury. And Josh, if you hear anything, please jump in. Let's take a closer look here. Southbury, Be in a safe spot. I want you away from windows or a basement. Turn up the TV. Take the NBC Connecticut app with you into the basement, and we'll get you through this storm. But we're talking about, we've got rotation. This is going to update in a second. So we get the reflectivity that shows us the rain, the hail, and anything else in the storm. And then we also, as the radar beam gets sent back to us, we're able to see the velocity and how quickly everything's moving. And there is your rotation right over Southbury right now, near I-84 in Southbury. And there you go. Obviously, a signature that has you obviously very concerned for the potential for some really nasty damage here as the storm moves through portions of Southbury. Josh, what do you have?
And Ryan, not seeing any storm reports from there yet, but of course that takes a little bit of time to come in. One thing that we did get from an earlier storm up in actually just got a report in from South Wilton, tree on car with people trapped on Route 300 near New Windsor. So that is just in at 4:55. So 30 seconds ago that came in, a report from South Wilton. This is not confirmed, but it is through our National Weather Service partner that did give this report. Train spotter reporting a tree down on a car with people trapped on Route 300 near New Windsor. So, you know.
That was in Wilton, I think, right? New Windsor Road?
Yeah, near New Windsor. Yep, correct, in Wilton. South Wilton.
Let's take Hartford full. I just want to show this quickly before it goes away. Look at those. You've got that is a classic shot there. Those are what we call mammatus clouds moving in. Only the strongest thunderstorms produce them, and that's what you have coming into downtown right now. A very nasty signature for sure. With these storms that are moving into Hartford, prepare immediately in Hartford for damaging winds and a lot of lightning and a lot of hail. The commute in Hartford is going to be awful with these thunderstorms. If you've got a loved one at work, you may want to give them a call and say, hey, just maybe wait it out a little while before these storms come in. All right, let's go back to live First Alert Doppler Radar. There is this signature that we're watching with the potential here for a tornado. This is in Southbury. Just, well, I'd say right over the center of town, right along 372, and clear as day. There you go. There's the rotation. We're going to zoom in here. I'm just going to draw that rotation so you see what we're looking at on Doppler Radar, live First Alert Doppler Radar, tracking this for you as it moves through Southbury, New Haven County, Route 67, Jeremy Swamp Road, Kettletown Road. There was a tornado back in 2007. I believe it went right over Kettletown. Did it start? No, it was actually in Newtown. It was just, I got my towns confused there along the Housatonic River. But this is a pretty good signature we have for a possible tornado in Southbury. I'm looking on radar, and I don't see any debris that's been lofted by the tornado yet, if there was one, but that could happen, so we're going to be watching it closely. Here and there, you can see in Southbury, Kettletown Road, Jeremy Swamp Road, and let's zoom out, because the tornado's already over those towns, those communities and those neighborhoods. We want to know where it's going. Southford on Route 188 and Route 67, that's next. So let's zoom in here. Middlebury and Naugatuck and Oxford, get into a safe place. In your Naugatuck, we've got a lot of amazing viewers in Naugatuck, always emailing in their pictures. I want you right now just to go into the basement or small interior room. Stay away from windows as the storm approaches your town. And Oxford, Middlebury, over toward, let's say, Naugatuck, you're next. For the kids watching at home, I know this can be pretty scary when you've got a storm like this coming in. Just listen to your mom and dad, go to the basement, things will be fine, nothing to worry about. You just don't want to do anything silly like go outside. That can be dangerous. But if you're inside and you're in a small room or you're away from windows, just don't look at the storm. Just don't try to look outside. As the winds come in, they're going to pick up. It's going to get really strong, and it might get scary for a little bit. But as long as you're inside, as long as you're in the basement, you're in the right place, and you can, these things happen, and we've had them in Connecticut before. So just listen to what you're supposed to do and remain inside. Don't wait until you see this thing on top of you. But if you're in Southbury and Oxford right now, this is a very serious situation, so you need to just remain indoors and try to, if you can, get to a basement. That's the safest place to be, or a small interior room away from windows. Those are the safest spots to be during a tornado. Middlebury, Oxford, and Naugatuck is next with this storm as it moves on through. So let's zoom things out, and I'm going to put a storm track on this again. The worst of the weather by far. So I know in Bristol and I know in Hartford and West Hartford, things are getting loud and things are getting nasty in your backyard. And that is true. And these storms are moving to the east, but it's this storm in Oxford now moving out of Southbury that we're concerned with. And let's put a storm track on it. We're going to track this out to the east. We've got a tornado warning in effect. This tornado warning includes Waterbury, but it looks like it's going to pass just south of Waterbury, south of Union City, Naugatuck 505, Prospect 509, Cheshire 514, Wallingford 519, and Meriden at 520. Josh, what are you looking at right now? What do you got?
I'm just looking at some of the radar data on the side here, just trying to see if we have any debris being lofted up into the air. Not really seeing any, but I'm just trying to cycle through some of the other radars here real quick to see what we have.
I may see
a little bit. Right?
A little bit,
yeah.
Yep, just west of the Oxford Airport.
Yep.
But I would wait until I saw it up at 0.9. Let's go back to Max C at the chroma key. So this is the storm. This is in Oxford. We have a potential tornado here, not confirmed, but things that I'm looking at do have me concerned that we may actually have a tornado forming here. So Middlebury and Oxford, you need to be in a safe spot. Next is going to be Beacon Falls and Naugatuck. Again, potential tornado as the storm is moving in. There's the new scan from the radar. Let's take a look. Let's head things over to the velocity mode. And you're watching NBC Connecticut News at 5 as we track these storms moving on through the state. There is very strong rotation here. Let's show you what we've got. This is a very significant signature. Not only do you have that possible tornado, but you also have the potential, I would say, for strong damaging winds. So outside of the tornado threat, we could be talking about winds as strong as, let's say, 90 or 100 miles per hour. That's how serious this storm is as it moves now out of Southbury and heads into Oxford and Naugatuck. You're next. So that's a live look outside in Waterbury. And notice, Josh, the sun's still out in Waterbury, which shows you that you still have a very juicy, unstable air out ahead of these thunderstorms.
Yeah.
As they move on through. So let's go back to the radar. Let's go down into some towns right now. So Beacon Falls, you're next. And let me clear off these arrows. And we're going to zoom into Oxford and Beacon Falls. Beacon Falls and Naugatuck, right along Route 8. As the storm enters the valley, could spin up a little bit more. 67 in Oxford. Rigg Street in Oxford, very serious storm. Same story, Burton Road in Beacon Falls. The center of Beacon Falls and then up toward Cross Street in Naugatuck. You need to be in a safe spot right now. I want you, if you're in Beacon Falls, to be in a basement or a small interior room. We've got obviously a very serious storm moving on through. And just trying to look. Yeah. Looking at the storm, I mean, Beacon Falls. So this is, if there was a tornado, this is where it would be. And I think, I would say the odds of this storm producing a tornado probably a bit better than some of the other storms. Josh, what do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I would say this is definitely the strongest out of the tornado warnings that we've seen so far. The velocity looks the most impressive. You can see, as Ryan's showing you right now, I mean, those dark blues, those are basically the winds
you're
going
up to about 100 miles an hour. And that's above the ground, but some of that could mix down.
And then on the other side, we have winds, that are probably, 50 to 60 knots on the outbound side. So you have these winds going against each other, and that's where we think there's the strongest threat for a tornado. Now, Ryan's over here looking at some of the other radar data, and it gives us an idea if there's any debris being lofted up into the atmosphere, and that's a clear indication that there's a tornado on the ground. We saw some slight indications of that a little while ago with some of the radar scans.
Yeah, Josh, I think we did have a TDS over Oxford. I do think we did have a debris signature. It was very brief. It wasn't impressive, but radar did, to me, indicate that we likely had a tornado on the ground near the Southbury-Oxford line. And yeah, I think it went just south of the Oxford Airport.
Yep.
So just south of the Waterbury-Oxford Airport, I did see some indication that we did have some lofted debris. And so what that indicates to me is that at one point, back through Southbury or near the Southbury-Oxford line, a tornado did touch down.
And Ryan,
what do you got?
We can jump over. I can kind of show you it on the, if you want to jump over and show it on correlation coefficient.
We can, there you go.
So it's right
got,
here. So basically what this tells us, this is what we call correlation coefficient. So basically it takes all the particles in the atmosphere and it says, okay, what is usual and unusual? Well, this right here is saying this is not typical, what we would typically see in a weather event. You know, it's not rain, it's not dust or anything like that. And that's why it's being highlighted in this blue shading. It's because you get this debris lofted up into the atmosphere, and it basically tumbles around, and it's picked up as unordinary, you know, radar segments. And you can see right here in this blue, right along Route 67, Route 188, right just south of the Oxford Airport, that's where we have it. Let me advance the frame one more, and you can kind of see it just slightly lifted to the south. And you can also, and that's an indication that there is possibly some debris, whether it be trees, you know, roofs, anything just being picked up into the atmosphere from this tornado. And this is something that we look at pretty closely.
Absolutely, Josh. And let's go back to the chroma key. Let's go over to Max C and take a look. And I may see another TDS here. All right, let's go back here. Yeah, please do. So,
yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, I
well.
see one to the south. So let's zoom in just to the south of Beacon Falls. So we're going to take a look at this area. I don't mean to do that. Let me zoom in here. Oh, you can see there's a storm coming into Waterbury. And obviously the camera's shaking around. But I want to get back to live first alert Doppler radar right now because we got to track this tornado that we have south of Waterbury. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer where we have this possible tornado on the Oxford, Beacon Falls, Seymour line, where they all come together here. I do think we have a tornado that is either on the ground now or was on the ground moments ago. That's too bad. It looks like the radar signatures the velocities are so strong, radar's having a tough time with it. Let me zoom back out here, see if I can take a closer look here.
You got it, right?
I can get it. Yeah, cool. It looks like we're sort of going to miss it. Let me go back here to.
And the latest radar scan's not really showing it anymore.
Good.
So
Okay.
You might have trouble seeing the radar debris signature.
Hard to pick up. So here's our potential for a tornado moving out of Oxford and Beacon Falls, southern part of Naugatuck. Prospect is going to be next as the storm moves on through and over into Bethany. So if you're in the line of this storm, I need you to be in a safe spot. I need you to be in a basement. I need you to be away from windows as the storm moves in. It looks like this storm has produced a tornado as it moved through Southbury and Oxford. Radar, as Josh was explaining, helped confirm that by showing us it could be something as small as pieces of leaves or twigs that were getting sucked up into the storm. And radar saw that and said to itself, well, you know, that wasn't rain. Something funny is up in this storm, and that was likely some tornado debris. And we may have had two distinct ones in Oxford, two different areas. So there could have been two different tornado touchdowns. Let me go back here to the wind signature. And yeah, this is going to give us a funky look. And the reason why, I'm just going to zoom in here. Here's our possible tornado over Beacon Falls and Naugatuck. The winds are so strong right now coming through Oxford. The radar is having a tough time resolving just how strong they are. It's something called a range folding. And so basically the radar is having trouble figuring out, well, which direction are the winds going because they're so powerful.
They're going to decrease the PRF over
Yeah, I know. So here's your potential tornado moving through Beacon Falls right now. If you're up toward Cambridge Drive, Grant Road, you need to be in a safe spot. You need to be away from windows. Cheshire, it looks like it's going to be just south of you, but Bethany, you're next with this storm. Again, possible tornado moving on through. This is the line of thunderstorms. If there was a tornado, it would be on the leading edge of this, near Route 63 in Bethany, heading over toward Route 10. So not too far from the Mount Carmel section of, not too far from the Mount Carmel section of Hamden. But if we go back here, and Josh, if you can keep an eye on the OKX velocity.
The tornado warning has been extended for Middlesex and New Haven counties. New Haven and Middlesex.
Very good. So we're going to zoom out and take a look at this, and we're going to put a storm track on it. So again, possible tornado moving through Bethany right now. This is the tornado warning. Again, possible tornado here. Tornado warning in effect for Hamden. And this now continues out to the east. So where you see this big bow, you've got a couple issues here to talk about. One is the potential for destructive straight line winds over 80 or 90 miles per hour. That's what we've seen with these storms as they've moved on through. You also, on the leading edge of it, we have seen indications that lead us to believe that there was some lofted tornado debris from this thunderstorm. So radar allows us to confirm the presence of a tornado even without actually seeing one. I don't have to set eyes on it to know that there most likely was a tornado somewhere near Southbury and Oxford, and now the storm is moving to the east. So we'll put a storm track on it for you and track the worst part of this storm. It looks like, if there was a tornado, Hamden over toward Wallingford right now, just to the north of Hamden, I'd say, but Naugatuck and Cheshire, and those are the towns that you've got to be really concerned about. So I'm looking at the eastern part of Naugatuck, Bethany, Prospect, and then Hamden and Cheshire will be next with the storm as it moves on through, especially the northern part of Hamden and southern part of Cheshire. It looks like those are the areas that are most likely most at risk for this possible tornado as it moves on through. Josh, do we have any more damage reports coming in?
We haven't had any come in of recent. So, I mean, I'll get them over to you as soon as we get them, but nothing as of now. Of course, if you have any damage reports that you can send in safely, we'd love to see them for you, hear from you. Of course, if you can do so safely, weather@NBCConnecticut.com. You can tweet at us using the hashtag NBCCT. And I'm kind of just looking at the long range here, and this is kind of a timeline of where we're going to see the storm system that has this tornado over the next, say, 30 to 45 minutes. So Wallingford around 5:20, that's in about 10 minutes from now. North Guilford around 5:27, Durham around 5:29, Killingworth around 5:37, into Haddam and East Haddam around 5:40 to 5:42, Essex around 5:47 and 5:49 further east into areas like Lyme out into far eastern, into eastern Connecticut.
Hey, so Josh, if we can go back here, I just want to go back to this this signature that we're tracking here. It looks like if there was a tornado, it would be on Route 10 between Cheshire and Mount Carmel. So I want to, and Josh, if you can take a look at velocity on max and see if they're able to, the aliasing, if they can get that right. Yep. So let's take a closer look here. Again, possible tornado, Route 10 between Cheshire and Hamden is moving out of Bethany right now. So we've been tracking this. It looked like it did produce a tornado over in Oxford earlier, near Southbury as well. If there's a tornado, here it is as it heads to the east. So if you're in Hamden, if you're in Wallingford, I need you to be in a safe spot right now. That's also going to extend out to the east, out toward North Haven and North Branford, and eventually we're talking about places like Durham as well. So you've got a couple different threats here. One being the potential for very, very strong winds. These storms can really rock with some powerful winds as they move through. And then sort of set back behind it is the threat for a tornado that looks like, if there were to be one, there's a long area of rotation that stretches from Hampton to Cheshire right now near Route 10. And I can zoom in and give you a closer look at that. Some of the areas that seem more at risk, and that would be over near Sleeping Giant. That would be coming out of Bethany right now. We'll take a closer look at some of these roads. If there was a tornado, we're talking about Gaylord Mountain Road, West Todd Street, West Woods Roads, Talmadge Road, moving out of Bethany over toward Hamden. Yeah, Josh, what do you have?
And a report from the Oxford Police Department. Multiple trees down, people trapped inside vehicles. So a very, very serious situation ongoing in Oxford and the nearby towns.
Yep, so Oxford, it did look like we had a possible tornado in Oxford, and it was close for me to say we probably can confirm that we probably did have a tornado that touched down there as that storm moved on through. We're tracking this again, moving toward, let's see here. Looks like just pretty much, I would say, there's a couple different areas that are worth watching here, and all of them are concerning right along this line that, again, is to the north of New Haven. Let's take a look just to the north as well. Severe storms moving into the Hartford area up toward Tolland and Stafford. The potential for damaging winds with these storms as well as they move on through. But it's that tornado threat with, it looks like we had a tornado that hit Oxford not too long ago. We're getting damage reports in Oxford. And as this line of thunderstorms moving on through, I'm going to head back over to velocity mode to see if I can get a closer look at sort of the winds. And okay, good. So we're back to where we wanted to be with this. And there you go. There's your possible couplet here. on Route 10 between Cheshire and Hamden. Wallingford's next. If you're in Wallingford, you need to be in a safe spot. Same story out toward Durham, Middlefield, Rockfall, excuse me. Northford as well. North Guilford, especially north of Bluff Head, and North Madison as well. And that's going to continue off to the east. So again, there's your potential, there's your rotation for sure and potential tornado as the storm moves through New Haven County and heads over toward Middlesex County. Let's put a storm track on this. As the storm moves off to the east, you need to be in a basement or small interior room. Stay away from windows as the storm moves in. New Haven, you're not in the tornado warning, but you've got the potential for some strong winds, maybe as high as 60 or 70 miles an hour. So those can do some damage as well. So here's a look at the storm. Again, moving toward Wallingford. And we're gonna take a closer look in Wallingford in just a second, but this is the area I'm concerned with. So it was just north of near, let's say Mount Carmel and Hamden, and then there's your rotation heading into Wallingford, 516 Wallingford, 517 Yalesville, 525 Durham, 530 Little City. That's where we're talking about the worst of the rotation from this thunderstorm, and I'm going to zoom in and show you. Josh, I would say that the storm probably is not nearly as concerning in terms of rotation as it was just a bit ago. Yeah,
the even wind has died down just a bit, so that's certainly some
wind
good news.
could be though that we're blowing parallel to the radar site though, so that's one thing that has me a little. I think we could be looking at still some pretty strong winds here, but this area from Cheshire to Wallingford to Hamden, you've got a little bit of some broad rotation, possible tornado heading toward Wallingford, heading into Durham. This storm did likely produce a tornado in Oxford. A bit ago, maybe about 20 minutes ago, let's say. And now the storm is heading out from Hamden and Cheshire, heading into Wallingford, heading over toward Durham. You need to be in a basement, small interior room. Stay away from windows as the storm moves in. Don't be looking out the window waiting for the storm to come in. We've already seen hail large enough to smash windows and windshields. And again, the potential is here for a very, very powerful storm with strong winds. And again, the potential for a tornado as the storm moves through Wallingford. Just looking at this, though, this to me has an indication of damaging winds, more so than a tornado at the current time. So the threat may be evolving from that possible tornado near Oxford over to something that would be more like strong winds, 60, 70 miles an hour moving toward Durham and North Guilford and North Madison. There could, you can always see a spin up on the northern side of these things where you can get the wind to start to whip around really fast and give you a tornado. But this is the area we're concerned about. Tornado warning in effect, New Haven and Middlesex counties for this storm. But it does appear to me that at least right now, the rotation has begun to lessen just a bit, and we may be transitioning more to a damaging wind event. Josh Cinganelli standing by with more. And Josh, what do you have?
Yeah, Ryan, getting some really impressive photos in from social media. If you have any photos you want to share with us on Twitter, you can use the hashtag NBCCT. You can email us at weather@NBC-Connecticut or share it at NBCConnecticut.com. And check this out. This is from the Danbury-Bethel line, and he's saying most neighborhoods looking like this. And you can see trees just completely uprooted there in Danbury, and it's very, very impressive images. And Ryan, feel free to weigh in here, but these images are either of two things: straight line wind damage or damage from a tornado. So, we did see some signatures that there was possibly a tornado out near this area.
Can I ask the control? Can we take those pictures full just so we can see them a little better?
Yeah.
So, Josh, go back to the one before, the one from Danbury.
Yep.
Let's take a closer look. I mean, you definitely have a lot of trees down.
And he's saying most neighborhoods are looking like this down near that area. Also have this tree that's just completely snapped. This is, where was she said straight. This was from New Fairfield. I remember when this one came in. So New Milford, you can see trees just completely snapped here. And Joseph says that was one of the most intense storms he's ever seen. We're in Beacon Falls. So if you have any photos that you want to send in, we would love to see them. If you can send them in safely, that is, you can share it at NBCConnecticut.com by email, or you can tweet at us using the hashtag NBCCT. But for now, we'll send things over to you, Ryan. And you're continuing to keep a close eye on this evolving storm. Yeah, so radar indicated we likely did have a tornado that touched down in Oxford just a bit ago. We saw some signs that some tornado debris was lofted into the storm. We can tell the difference on radar because if it's a straight line wind, the wind just comes down from the storm and just pushes everything down. So it just snaps trees. It could even take a roof off a house, but that happens all in one direction. When you have a tornado,
what also happens is as it spins around, you're going to suck stuff up into the storm's updraft, and you can get that lofted debris. And so radar will see that and see that something was getting sucked into the storm, and you know it has to be from a tornado. So I've got a couple other areas that I'm concerned with, Josh, and I want to time out this entire line here.
And then Ryan, after that, well, maybe I could focus on the storm system in Towland County.
Yeah.
Good wind signature with that one as well.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's time this out as it comes to the east. The worst of the storm moving out toward Killingly and out to the east in the next, let's say, 20 minutes or so. So Columbia 523. Pomfret 523, Cromwell at 524. And Josh, what do you have?
Yeah, Ryan, so we're also keeping our eye on this system right up here towards Towland County, moving into Windham County. There's no tornado warning on this, but there are some very strong winds, so we want to give you a first alert with this system as well. And I want to time it out. We'll draw this squall line right here and give you some timing, but you can see those areas in red. That's indicating some very heavy rain coming down, and it's moving due east at approximately 45 miles per hour. So it's moving towards Stores around 521, Mansfield around 522, Ashford around 525, Phoenixville around 527, North Grosvenor's-Dale around 532, Willimantic around 536, into Brooklyn around 540. And one thing I'll switch on over here is show you the wind signature from this. And you see these light blues, certainly not as strong as what we're seeing down in Fairfield County, New Haven County, but still a very strong thunderstorm. We're seeing winds in excess of 50 miles per hour with this, so that's certainly enough to take down some tree limbs, take down some power lines, and cause some issues to your property and nearby things. So let's take, yeah, Ryan.
Josh, we got some more reports.
Okay.
I got a viewer in Sandy Hook in Newtown says thinks a tornado went through. There's damage all over the place. Trees snapped, roads closed. So that's that area, Newtown, Southbury, Oxford.
And that's right where we saw the tornado debris signature.
That is exactly where we saw that debris signature. So we saw the storm coming in from New York, and we got really worried about it. And certainly it lived up to expectations, unfortunately, with a number of damage reports coming in now. So we got this line of thunderstorms here. If we had a tornado, let me take this off and go back to the velocity mode so we can see what we've got in terms of any potential tornado development. I still would be very concerned in North Guilford, North Madison, up into Durham, and then heading out toward Higginham and Haddam, and then down over toward the Connecticut River Valley with this potential for a tornado. That's why you're under a tornado warning, because there's the potential there for a tornado. And you can see I still have a good rotational signature showing up here on Line First Alert Doppler Radar. So on the Wallingford-Durham line, I wouldn't be surprised if this was able to drop another tornado as it moved out of New Haven County into Middlesex County. Let's take a closer look here. Some of the areas involved. This is going to be Route 68. That's Route 68 that comes right out of Durham, goes over into Wallingford, near Research Parkway in Wallingford, and now sort of climbing up into the hills near the Tilcon plant off Route 68, Route 157, Route 147 up toward Rockfall, and then Durham Center. If you're in Durham right now, remember the big damaging wind event you had that came out of Wallingford a couple summers ago? This could be something similar with the potential for some wind damage and some snapped trees. So if you're near the Green in Durham, if you're heading down Route 17 out toward Northford, down 77 into North Guilford, or down 79 into North Madison, you need to be in a safe spot. Make sure you stay away from windows. You go down to the basement. If you feel like it's getting bad, that's the safest place to be. One thing I will note here is that unlike what we saw with the storm in Oxford, the velocity signature indicates to me that the rotation is fairly broad. So if you were to look for a tornado, you'd want these reds and these blues to be right next to each other. But they're not. It's a broader signature. So that could enhance the damaging wind potential. But the tornado threat, I do believe, has diminished quite a bit from what we had earlier. So,
Ryan, one thing to mention
what do you got, Josh?
is that, you know, we see this, we've seen this throughout the day today, is that the wind signature dies down just for a bit. It's what we call the storm's basically going through a cycle. And then you see that wind signature with the tornado ramp right back up, and it gets really tight again. The gradient between the outbound winds and the inbound winds gets really tight again. So this just may be one of those things where the storm's going through one of its cycles, and we might see this ramp ramp right back up again. So if you
Just
are
got,
under that
just got
tornado
a
warning,
40-knot wind gust in Bridgeport.
Okay,
As the
so
storm moved through, and guys, the New Haven cameras should be pretty good soon with the worst of the weather going through New Haven. So I do want to let's sort of reset here and take a look at what we have going on. We've got a severe thunderstorm warning that's basically in effect for all of Connecticut. The threat right now is primarily for strong damaging winds, heavy rain and lightning. These are dangerous storms. They're knocking down trees. They're knocking out power. These are, I would say, stronger than most thunderstorms we get in Connecticut. This is a higher end event. We thought that was possible. We gave you a first alert 48 hours ago for these storms as they moved, as we thought that they would sort of develop like this, and they certainly have done that. So I want to send things over to just the regular reflectivity mode on live first alert Doppler radar. This is what you're used to seeing. This is showing where you have rain and even some hail. And embedded in this line is some very strong wind and the potential, especially now moving through Durham into Haddam, for a tornado. But I think for most of us, the concern right now is damaging wind. And even in the Durham area, it's more of a straight line wind threat than a tornado threat.
Yep.
One thing I've noticed, Josh, is it looks like we've sort of seen things sort of spin up a little bit here. Not spin up, I shouldn't say, but the line sort of perked up over toward Middletown, then out toward Manchester, and this is Glastonbury. So this is one area we're going to have to watch for some damaging winds heading out of Middletown over toward Colchester. So we'll time that out.
Yeah.
We're talking about Riverdale 525, East Hampton at 530, Westchester at 535, Colchester at 540, and heading toward Lebanon at 548. So that's one area.
that's definitely
of
probably the
concern.
strongest winds in the state right now is in that vicinity, I would say, Ryan.
I think you're right for sure. And this bow echo here, Josh, the winds are blowing right now perpendicular to the radar beam, so
Yep.
it's hard for us to sample just how strong they are. But I would be prepared. It's very wooded. It's very rural in this part of Durham heading into Haddam and down Route 9. But this is certainly an area where we need to be concerned with, where you've got the potential for some really strong winds coming on in. So Route 81 from Higganum on south toward Killingworth, so just north of the traffic circle in Killingworth, heading up toward Higganum. This is Route 9 in Middletown. This is our traffic camera, and we'll show you what we're looking at there. The wind is obviously picking up. The rain is coming down quite a bit as well in Middletown as this storm moves on through. And any of these storms, again, capable of producing a brief tornado as they develop. But although right now I think the main threat with these thunderstorms as they move in is damaging wind. And we're talking about the potential for winds that could gust as high as, let's say, 50, 60, maybe even 70 miles per hour. Josh, what do you have?
Yeah, Ryan, just looking over some of the, it's pretty tough to kind of get the radar sample, like you said, on that system. So just looking at some of the other radars that can sample it a little bit better. And, certainly think there's possibility of seeing wind gusts, like you said, in excess of 60 miles per hour with this system. Let's kind of zoom out and just do a quick reset right here and just show you just how big this system is. It extends all the way from the Massachusetts border down through Fairfield County. And anywhere along this line has the possibility of producing damaging strong winds, winds in excess of 58 miles per hour, and that's enough to take trees down. It's enough to do some damage to power lines. I know we have a report in, and if Amanda, you can update me on that. Last check on the Eversource numbers, I believe it was around 40,000. Is that correct? 32,000 Eversource customers without power right now, and of course we'll get an update on UI as well. But hey, let's take a closer look here, and I want to track this system right here near East Hampton, headed into Colchester out towards Basra, and you can see that it does have a pretty strong wind signature with it. So let's get a track on this. It's moving through East Hampton, moving east at about 45 miles per hour in East Hampton around 529, Westchester around 535, Colchester around 540, Gilman, which is part of Basra, around 548, into Basra around 549, Franklin around 551, and then eventually into the Yantic section of Norwich around 553. But we are seeing a lot of reports of damage throughout the state, especially in portions of Fairfield County, up into areas of New Haven County, and it's all from this system. There is still a tornado warning in effect for this, Ryan, but right now the wind signature, based on what I've looked at, doesn't look too impressive with regard to rotation with this system.
Yeah,
right?
and certainly good news there. I don't see a big rotation. I see a very broad signature
Yeah.
in Durham. over
no,
into
I
Haddam.
completely agree.
But,
And one other thing to add,
what do you got?
11,000 UI customers also without power.
Wow, okay.
So that's a total of 44,000 in the state without power.
And you can see exactly where those line of storms move through on the outage maps that are coming in. So quite a bit of damage from these thunderstorms that we have going on through. And again, we're talking about all of these areas. The severe weather threat is going to diminish over the next hour or so. So you still have the tornado warning for Middlesex County, although the rotation is broad, and I doubt at this point it's producing a tornado. It looks like it did produce a tornado back toward Oxford, but the odds of a tornado now are diminishing rapidly. And out toward eastern Connecticut, the atmosphere is going to be much more stable. So once you get basically from, let's say, Moose on south into Norwich and Groton, we're still going to see some strong gusty winds. We're still going to see some lightning, maybe see some small hail. But the odds for truly high-end severe weather like we saw in western Connecticut coming to an end as these storms move into a more stable air mass. So
yeah, and that typically happens. I mean,
sure
people
does.
in New London County know it best. I mean, if you're a thunderstorm lover, you know the stable layer in New London County, and that seems like what's going to occur.
I think so. So we've got a couple of things, Josh, that just sort of jump out at me as I'm looking at this, and we're gonna take a look in Windham County shortly, because I think this is one segment that we're gonna have to watch for damaging winds coming along 44 from Pomfret.
Out near Chaplin.
Yep. So Chaplin, and then Putnam and Pomfret over toward Killingly, and then we've got this second one, the tornado warned area from that storm that was earlier likely producing a tornado, now moving to the east through Middlesex County. So let's stop this loop, and we're gonna go north to south. So we're going to take a look, and I'll get back to that tornado warned storm in just a second. Although it looks like, from what I'm looking at, the threat for a tornado has diminished. So this is the area that we're watching in Windham County from Woodstock down toward Ashford. Things are really coming down pretty hard right now. You've got some good wind and you've got some very heavy rain. We'll track this for you as we head out toward the Rhode Island border. We're talking about the potential here for winds gusting up to 50 or 60 miles per hour. So you want to be inside. You want to stay away from windows as this comes in. North Grovenordale 530, Pomfret 533, Putnam 535, Brooklyn 537, Danielson 540, East Brooklyn 540, and Killingly at 541. All right, so that's the first segment of this line of thunderstorms that's moving on through. Let's go down to the south and take a look at the next area of thunderstorms, and down towards Storrs and over toward Willimantic. Not quite as impressive looking, probably just more of your run-of-the-mill thunderstorm heading toward Willimantic, over toward Route 6 in Chaplin, down along Route 14 over into Scotland and Canterbury. The winds probably no worse than about 40 or 50 miles per hour. The area that has the tornado warning right now, I think it's a bit of a different story. The winds certainly could be stronger moving out of Haddam. So this is looks like it's sort of maybe right over the Swing Bridge right now and over toward Chester. And there's the severe tornado warning has been canceled or expired.
Yep.
And now the storms are moving east. So the tornado threat, again, as we mentioned before, likely has diminished. So we sort of gave you a little heads up on that, which is certainly good news. And we're